I apologize for my brief inactivity. I sort of got depressed due to some personal issues and couldn't bring myself to do anything artistic. But after I got my paycheck this week and remembered how much I hate my job, I snapped out of it and decided to lock in. So in today's video, I want to discuss feet versus hands. Which one is harder to draw? Well, let's find out. Since I got myself a fancy new iPad a few months ago, I'll be using Procreate to get the information I need, like how much time and brush strokes it took me to draw 5 hands and 5 feet. Foots. I don't know. According to Google, the human hand has the total of 27 bones, 8 carpal bones, 5 metacarpal bones, and 14 phalanges. And it is phalanges because I looked it up. All connected by ligaments and joint. You're really getting the full biology lesson here. And here's the best part. I'm going to show you graphs.
Look at this graph.
The tips of the fingers right here are called the distal phalanx. The bone under the tip of the finger is the middle phalanx, and the third bone is the proximal phalanx. By the way, I could be mispronouncing a bunch of words, as you can tell. But oh well. And here's a fun fact, the thumb only has the distal phalanx and the proximal phalanx bones. Right under the phalanxes, we have the metacarpals or metacarpus. And here's where it gets a bit trippy, so I'm going to show you another graph.
Look at this graph.
That's a bit easier to read. Right under the metacarpals, we have the trapezoid, the hamate or hamate, the trapezium, the trichotrom, and the capitate or capitate. I'm sorry, I don't know. The capitate bone. Again, I'm sorry for any mispronunciation. Attached to the trichotrom and the pisiform bone. Underneath the trapezium and the trapezoid bones, we have the scaphoid. Underneath the hamate, capitate, and the trichotrom, we have the last bone, and her name is lunate. That's actually a pretty name. So why are hands so hard to draw? Well, from the biology anatomy lesson from before, which I hope you understood anything from that, the hand has many bones and ligaments, but we can always break these down into simple shapes and that way draw out the hands. But it's not that easy. When drawing hands, every artist dreads it. Hands are also the butt of the joke with multiple memes and videos talking about how hard hands are to draw, and for good reason. The reason hands are hard to draw is because of the details, making sure the knuckles are placed correctly, that the tips of the fingers don't look too weird, because one small mistake can make the whole hand you drew look weird. There are more shapes to break down, and if you really think about it, hands are always a focus in illustrations. This depends on the art style, of course, but looking at surrealism anime art and Renaissance paintings and other illustrations in general, you will always find posed hands, and they are really, really well drawn. Which is why I think every artist sort of neglects practicing feet and lean into practicing hands a lot more. Time for more graphs.
Look at this graph.
So one less bone than hands, feet has 26 bones in total. This is not including the ankle. At the base of the ankle starting the foot formation, we have the talus and the calcaneus. Right attached to those bones, we have cuboid and navicular. I'm sorry, y'all. Right above those bones, we have the cuneiforms. I don't know how to pronounce these words. I'm sorry. The cuneiforms, the medial and lateral, and the intermediate cunei bones. Joining together these bones are the tarso-metatarsal joints. If you see the graph on your screen,
look at this graph.
you can see that the feet have a similar structure to the hand, just longer and maybe bigger. That's what she said. That all depends on the size of your feet though. All bones are grouped together but separated in 3 groups, just like the hand. The tarsals, the metatarsals, and the phalanges. See, we've already spoken about phalanges, but I'm getting ahead of myself. After the joints, we have the metatarsals, and attached to the tips of these bones, we have the sesamoid bones, and just like hands, after the sesamoids, we have the proximal phalanx, middle phalanx, and the distal phalanx. Grouping these in the phalanges. I don't know if I'm saying this right at all. Separating the metatarsals and sesamoid bones, say that 3 times quick, are the metatarsophalangeal joints. Once again, another mouthful. The talus, the calcaneus, navicular, and the cuneiforms, and the cuboid are all in the tarsal group. Now that we got that out of the way, are feet hard to draw? I'm so sorry, guys. These words are just difficult. We, as a society of artists, tend to ignore and neglect drawing feet. Not only because feet are so heavily fetishized, but we don't tend to add this part of the body in illustrations as much as we show off hands. And when we do draw feet, and I say that in air quotations, because we don't really draw the feet. We draw shoes. And drawing shoes, sure, it starts off with the same basic shapes you use to break down the foot, but that's pretty much it. Drawing shoes is completely different, and it is more common to practice drawing shoes than it is to draw the foot. Also, whenever an artist does draw feet, it is low-key deemed as weird because of the reputation feet have. Since artists hide feet behind shoes or full body illustrations, feet aren't really missed, but you can't hide hands as much without it looking weird. I have most definitely done the hands in the pocket or hand behind the character to avoid drawing hands. Feet are easier to break down into shapes using bigger shapes to be able to draw them, unlike hands. Now let's see the difference of brushstrokes and time I spent drawing hands versus feet. Going into my Procreate canvas settings, I can see that the total of brushstrokes made were 3,332, and it took me 2 hours to draw 5 sets of hands. For feet, the total brushstrokes made were 2,714, which was less than the strokes made to draw hands, as well as drawing 5 sets of feet took me 1 hour and 46 minutes, which is almost to the 2-hour mark, but not quite. It took me longer to draw hands, and it took me less time and effort to draw feet. In my opinion, hands are harder to draw, only by the sheer fact that hands are broken down into more shapes than the foot, and hands have more details to them. Again, this is just my opinion, but practicing both body parts is something that will for sure benefit the artist in the future. If you think feet are harder to draw, let me know why and your opinion. Thank you for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace out!